Yeah, I have a problem with the states that want to sell medical marijuana. I just think that's an excuse to sell marijuana, and I would much rather just come out and get rid of some of these bad laws, make it legal for anybody. I want to go back to what you said about the 6 states and the 6 countries that have studied after
Yes.
they've legalized it. What happened to their crime rates? What happened to their prison population? And what happened to their addiction rates?
Well, of course, the crime rate goes down a lot because, for one thing, you're not arresting people for using these particular drugs. So that drops it tremendously. But also there's a drop in the rate of people committing larcenies and burglaries and such. The cost of drugs tends to go down when you decriminalize some. Not anywhere near what it would if we legalized it. If we legalized it, it would just knock the bottom out of the thing, and drug prices would drop down to a rate so low that it wouldn't be worth it to anybody to try to sell it in the street. So people wouldn't be out there trying to recruit new users, new dealers, because it just wouldn't be worth the money. Most of these other countries have not decriminalized long enough to have any kind of track record. The ones that have decriminalized all drugs were, as I say, Portugal, and that was 10 years ago, and then just a couple years ago, actually, Mexico decriminalized small amounts of all drugs, and the reason they said they were doing it, these tiny little amounts, and it is tiny amounts, was because of the police corruption. The police down there were catching somebody with just a tenth of a gram of something and saying, you know, grease my hand and give me some money and we'll let you go. So the government decided we'll just say that that's not illegal. A month after they decided that to do that, the Supreme Court of Argentina ruled that it is unconstitutional in that country to arrest people for what they're putting in their body or for possessing what they're going to put in their body. And 10 days after they made that ruling, the Supreme Court of Colombia made the same ruling. The last, let's see, a year ago this month, the Czech Republic decriminalized all drugs for adults, and not little amounts, all drugs for adults. And Greece, I think it was last August, did the same thing, decriminalized all drugs for adults. So these countries are changing very, very rapidly, and many other countries have decriminalized certain amounts of certain drugs. Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Switzerland, the UK, Canada, many countries are decriminalizing certain drugs.
I want to ask you again about the 13 states that have said, okay, our state has chosen to allow medical marijuana. Is that a way to kind of sneak it in, to kind of use, oh, it's for medicinal purposes? Why can't we just be honest and say, you know what, these drug laws are ridiculous. They're filling up our prisons. Let's just decriminalize it.
Well, I don't think it's sneaking it in. No, I think to me that's drug policy 101. If there's anybody that should have the use of marijuana, it is people that use it for medical purposes. And if there's a little slippage there, I don't care, because I want to legalize all drugs, you know. But I do agree with you. I think even decriminalization, LEAP doesn't agree with that. And the reason we don't, and certainly not with the idea of decriminalizing marijuana only, because, you know, if the government were smart enough to decriminalize or just legalize marijuana across the board, it wouldn't cause one less overdose death, because nobody dies of an overdose of marijuana. There's never been one in recorded history. So that wouldn't save any of those folks. No, it wouldn't lessen the number of people getting AIDS or hepatitis by one person because you don't take it intravenously. It wouldn't reduce the violence out there because almost all the violence is due to the prohibition of these harder drugs, not the soft drugs. There's where most of your killings happen. There's when people are killing each other to distribute heroin or cocaine or methamphetamine and those things. So it wouldn't change all of that much at all. And that's why we want to legalize all drugs. That's the only thing that will end the violence.
I just believe
decriminalization does all sorts of wonderful things, but it doesn't end the violence.
I just believe when you legalize medical marijuana, the only person that makes out is the government who taxes you. And we can get grandma a joint so she can take care of her glaucoma. I just don't want to see government win with all those taxes and the ability to regulate and impinge even more into our personal medical decisions. That's where it drives me crazy. We're running out of time here now, so I want to ask you, how can we get more information about LEAP?
www.leap.com or .cc, leap.cc. If you can't remember that, the simplest way to remember it is copsaylegalizedrugs.org.
Okay.
Copsaylegalizedrugs.org, and you'll find us. We are just a speakers. We have 170 some speakers now, police, judges, prosecutors, federal agents. We go anywhere and speak to any group, and we do it for free. We get our funding from, unless maybe it's a college or university, and then we try to get an honorarium that'll pay for our speakers to go other places. All of our speakers do this for nothing. Most of them are retired. Only about 10% are active law enforcers. And they're the really courageous ones, the ones that will speak out while they're still on the job. We've had a few of them fired recently, 3 of them. And these are courageous people, far more courageous than I was. I certainly waited till I retired before I started this.
That's okay, you're fighting the battle now. So now look me square in the eye and tell me, what can your average everyday person do to help?
The best thing, as far as I'm concerned, you can do to help is join LEAP. And here's the reason why. The only way we're going to change these laws is to have a huge grassroots organization to go to Congress and say, demand a change. They're not going to give this up easy. But it can't just be simply a grassroots organization. It has to be a credible grassroots organization. And we have more credibility than anybody out there, you know, as I said before. So we are the people that can change this. We've given over 8,000 talks around this country, and in another 500-600 in other countries. And no matter where we go in the world, no matter where in the United States, about 80% of our audience is convinced when we finish talking. Now that's a tremendous turnover. So we feel like if we could talk to everybody today, it'd be over tomorrow. So it's just a matter of getting the word out. And the more, each time we speak, maybe there will be one law enforcer in the audience that says, you know, they're on the right track. I'd really like to help too. And then they become a speaker, and we just keep growing and growing and growing. So we are the ones that will make the change. And by the way, we agree with you about what you said about the marijuana. Yeah, medical marijuana, that's fine, but we should legalize this all. And we're working right now to do that in California. 2 of our board members are on the board of a group called Regulate Marijuana Like Wine, which is going to be on the an initiative on the ballot in November.
Jack A. Cole, thank you very much for joining us today. Really enjoyed it. Great organization. Keep up the good work.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, we're out of time. If you find yourself agreeing with our guest, you might be a libertarian. To find out, take the world's smallest quiz at www.theadvocates.org. Remember, Libertarian Viewpoint brings you the non-government, liberty-based solutions that other media will refuse to tell you about. Liberty works. It is always the best choice. If anyone in government can prove otherwise, I challenge them to speak up. To view past shows, search YouTube using Libertarian Viewpoint. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for other shows of Libertarian Viewpoint.